Good morning, Rochester. Welcome to Outside the Echo Chamber, the Liberty Talk Hour on Rochester Free Radio, WRFZ 106.3 FM with Kevin Wilson.
And Sean Phelan.
All right, so good morning. This beautiful Saturday morning.
Yeah, it's not frozen.
Feels like spring, although it's going to be frozen tomorrow, so don't worry.
Well, that's okay. It was supposed to have 80s almost by Wednesday.
Oh, it's going to be weird weather. It's going to be awesome.
It's Rochester.
Rochester. All right.
You sound fired up today, man.
Yeah, no, it's an exciting day.
Did you get a full night's sleep or something?
Oh, heck no. No. I'm not into that. No, but I am fired up because we had a great weekend last weekend.
We sure did.
Yeah, we went to the state convention.
In Albany.
Yeah, so we were at the Libertarian Party of New York convention. We got to see our candidates officially nominated by the Libertarian Party of New York. You've met both of them.
Yes.
If you're listeners of this show. Larry Sharp, who we had on a few weeks back, and Andrew Hollister, who was our first guest ever, he was actually selected as the lieutenant governor candidate. So
that was a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it was a great thing. And today we're really excited to have two people who were part of that convention in the studio. So we have the newly elected chair of the Libertarian Party of New York, Jim Rosenbeck. So
good morning, Kevin. Sean, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thanks for being here. And we also have someone who was reelected to the state committee. We have Mark Potwora. Hey, Mark.
Hey, what's up?
He snuck in the studio. Somebody left the door open.
Yeah, so he's just here. but we're glad to have you in the studio. Mark's a lot of fun, and it's going to be a. Oh,
that's not me.
All right, so it's going to be a good day. Oh, all right, that was weird.
Johnny Cash started, didn't he?
Yeah, no, I don't think that was going out over the air. But so like I said, we just had the convention at the Libertarian Party of New York convention. We just had our new state chair elected, our state vice chairs, all the party officers, and the new state committee. Some people returning, a few new coming on board. And so Jim, tell us what that process like for the Libertarian Party of New York.
The process at the convention, are you talking about, Kevin?
Yeah. Just tell us a little bit about what you thought of the convention and how it went. You know, as the newly elected chair, we had been promoting this for a little while because we encourage folks to get out and get active in third parties like the Libertarian Party of New York. And so how'd that process actually work? Like what?
Well, yeah, I thought it was a great convention. I think people left excited and enthused. One of the things that really struck me about our convention this year is the influx of young people that I had never seen to that degree before. And certainly a lot of that is due to our gubernatorial candidate, Larry Sharp, and the appeal that he has with younger people who see hope for New York State should Larry Sharp get elected. And those people, we had an opportunity to interact with them, and these are people that our party absolutely needs to keep around after this election is over. So it was a very successful convention. We added new blood to the state committee. Some people that have been serving, like Mark, who's here with me, was reelected again. I think we have a very strong team, and I'm really, really psyched about our gubernatorial and lieutenant governor candidates, Andrew Hollister and Larry Sharp.
Yeah. All right. So that's probably the number one priority for the party then this year, right? Is supporting those candidates. What's the party doing with that process?
Yeah, the single biggest thing that libertarians, people who care about liberty and care about opportunities beyond the two-party system in New York State can do right now is to support the Larry Sharp campaign. The party is very much involved now in creating a network of volunteer petitioners, and I am going to be traveling around the state. In fact, later today I'll be in Steuben County addressing the county chapter there about the importance of getting out that volunteer effort for the SHARP campaign. We got to get that petitioning done. As you know, the petitioning period in July is very important for us, and we're going to all be on the same team and get that difficult work done because many hands are going to be involved.
Yeah, so I mean, tell us a little bit more about the petitioning process, because the Libertarian Party doesn't get to just say, well, we nominated our candidate, they're on the ballot, great. What do we have to do for that?
Exactly. As your audience probably knows, New York State election law certainly advantages the two old parties and a handful of other minor parties. Unfortunately, or up until now, the Libertarian Party has been an independent body. For an independent body to get a candidate on the ballot for governor in New York State, we need to collect a minimum of 15,000 signatures. And we have about a 5-week period in which we have to get that done, and that begins in July and extends into early August. For practical purposes, we need to collect about 30,000 signatures just to make sure that there aren't any successful attempts to invalidate signatures and deny us ballot access.
Yeah, we all know that the other parties will do anything to retain their power.
Yeah, it'll happen. And folks, I've been out. I've done that. I was here 4 years ago collecting those signatures, and I was there 2 years ago doing it, and last year, and you know, and it sounds easy enough, right? Like, we'll just we'll go up and talk to someone, and we'll get a signature, right? And it should go quick.
Try doing that
right,
in New York.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah. But it ain't easy. But listen, folks, I tell you, if you've never gotten involved in the process, no matter what party you're involved in, you should try it. You should see what it's like to ask people to get on the ballot, because that's an incredibly important part of the democratic process in New York State. So asking folks to say, hey, who do you want your candidates to be? Do you want another choice on the ballot this November?
More choices.
Right. One thing I'd like to add in here about the petitioning, Kevin, we do have a lot of new chapters, a lot of young people who are excited and just recently become part of the party. Then when we send them out and ask them to volunteer and petition, they go out and they meet that initial resistance that all of us in this room have, and they might become discouraged. One of the things that the Libertarian Party of New York is going to do this year is offer training to volunteer petitioners, and the new chapters and new groups that have formed that are trying to create chapters in New York State. So we want people to be prepared with a skill set so that they can deal with the resistance that we all face and not become discouraged. So training's a big part of that, and we're going to be offering that.
Yeah. Well, Jim, yeah, that's great, and I think really important. And I do want to touch on one point, just because the audience may not be familiar with it. You keep saying chapters of the Libertarian Party of New York. What do you mean by that, and how active is the Libertarian Party of New York in our state?
Okay, well, we know that there are 62 counties in New York State. Currently, we have 16 active chapters. A couple of those chapters are multi-county chapters, but primarily they're single-county chapters. Then we have another 7 or so what we call TCCs, or temporary chapter chairs. And these are people who've identified an interest in building a chapter in their county. And when someone expresses that interest, we have a team, a chapter development team, that meets and vets those candidates to become representatives in the county. In fact, Mark Potwora here is the chair of that chapter development committee. So Mark and his team will interview and vet candidates and bring them to the state committee, and the state committee will vote to appoint a particular individual to be the representative in that county. And this is really important for us because we need to create a network of libertarians across the state. We've had unprecedented growth over the last couple of years. A lot of that attributable to the chapter development work and work of our recent past chair, Mark Legowski. But we need to continue that effort. And there are other concerns with, that I won't go into today about county committees and how the nature of our organization will change likely after November, and how we'll likely have considerable growth in county committees in every county in the state. At least that's my vision.
Yeah.
It's a good vision.
Yeah, that's the hope, right? To have everyone there. And then, one of the things that I've gotten frequently when I've gone on like other interviews is people say, well, you're just focusing on the top ticket races. You guys never run anyone local. Jim, is that true?
Well, I'll tell you, I've run locally twice for city council in Batavia. Mark, who's sitting here next to me, has run. I believe you've run for office, Kevin. I'm not sure, Sean, whether you've run or not, but I know lots of people that have run for office local office within the Libertarian Party. And I think that it's pretty much accepted that we need to begin at a grassroots sort of level, getting people elected to city councils. And even prior to that, just serving on an appointed board within a community and bringing libertarian ideas to that board. I'll give you an example that my wife, Debbie, serves on the zoning board in the city of Batavia. Now, libertarians aren't necessarily big, zoning people, but she goes in with libertarian principles and tries to use those ideals when making decisions about zoning code variances. And her view is that, unless there's some compelling reason that somebody shouldn't be able to use their property in the way that they want to, it isn't the role of the community to stop them from doing that. So she's taking a libertarian perspective, isn't elected to office, but has an effect. And in the process, educates other people who serve on that committee with her who say, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I got to be honest, I love talking about zoning. I'm such a nerd about it. We talked about it a little bit with the pre-record show with Arian last week. Yep. But that's something to keep in mind, too.
We have to apologize to our listeners. We did not come off with a live show like we had planned.
Last week, yeah. No, sorry about that, guys. The hotel just didn't quite have the signal and the internet bandwidth that we were hoping for. But we did have a pre-recorded show go out with Arian Horvitz, and we're gonna put that out on our website, outsidetheechochamber.show, so you can listen to it in case you missed it. But that was a fun one, in which we brought up zoning, because that's something that it seems a little bit boring, but something that affects quite a lot in your community. And to Jim's point, like there's all of these positions, there's all these like levels of government that a lot of people don't think of. It's not just governor or Congress or Senate or the president. It's there are so many opportunities to get involved in your community if you want to be politically active and make a difference there that they're available. You just got to start talking to the right folks and put yourself out there and get involved. And I think like the Libertarian Party, as well as other like independent parties, are looking to be more part of that process too.
I mean, if you're listening to the show right now, you're off to the right foot. You're definitely you're tuning in to a political perspective that is outside the mainstream media, and that alone is potentially dangerous to the system because you are beginning to think for yourself and have free thought, and that is dangerous to the two-party system. So, yeah. But
so that's a good start, breaking out of that, and then let's get involved in your community in some way, and get involved in. So Jim has started talking about all these different chapters. If you are interested in getting involved with the Libertarian Party, like all these chapters not only need chapter members, but they also need town committee members and things like that too. Jim, if people wanted to find that, where could they get in touch with you?
Well, I would encourage listeners to go to LP New York, NEWYORK.org. And the first page you're going to see there is Volunteer Now. You can contact me or any of the other officers of the party through that website. And also, if you're interested in becoming involved as a temporary chapter chair or getting involved in one of our local chapters, all of our chapter leaders have their emails there, and just shoot them an email, and they'll be more than happy to get back to you.
And there is an election coming up in November, folks, so we need all the support we can get.
Yeah. So for all the offices, again, all these a few different campaigns, are obviously going to need volunteers and supporters. And if you're thinking of running for office yourself, the petitioning period does begin in June and July, depending on the office you're running for. So there's still some time, but you're running out pretty quick if you're going to mount a serious campaign. But
I do want to say something regarding the recent convention that we just had. Now, I've been to 2 conventions previous to this one, and I got to be honest with you, they were kind of like a social gathering to me. This last one was very different. It was electrifying. That's the only word I can come up with. There was hope in the air. There was a whole nother atmosphere going on that I don't know whether it was you, Jim, or Larry, or Andrew, or the whole combination, but something was happening there. And the other thing is how impressed I was that no matter what was going on in that convention, someone from Rochester was represented there. Somebody, whether it was you, you were emceeing, you, Kevin, you were emceeing something for a while there.
Yeah.
Jim, even though you're Batavia, still consider that the Rochester area. Your
Western
election,
New York.
It just every time you turned around, there was another Rochesterian up there, and it was like, wow, it's like, is this what Rochester does? Like every 80 to 90 years, like they, something comes out of Rochester that completely changes the face of the government. We had Frederick Douglass, then we had Susan B. Anthony, Eastman Kodak, is it now, Jim Rosenbeck? Is it Kevin Wilson? Is this really the next wave
Jim
coming
up
in?
on that pedestal?
Yeah, I'm just the messenger, gentlemen.
But that, hey, George Washington said, great men aren't great for being great. They have greatness thrust upon them, sir. So that, I don't know. I think there's a wave going on. I think there's a nice little wave happening, and I don't know where it's leading to, but it definitely sounds interesting.
You gotcha. Any comment on that, Jim?
Yeah, I don't think there's ever been a more exciting time to be involved with the Libertarian Party in New York State. This is, Sean, you referred to it as a wave. This is a revolution. We have the opportunity to change the political landscape in New York State within the next 6 months, if we're willing to do that hard work and we join together with like-minded people. And Larry certainly has the appeal, the broad appeal, not just within the Libertarian Party, but the broad appeal to people that are tired of the cronyism in Albany, who view what's happening in the governor's office and see that you have people very close to him that are being arrested and convicted for criminal activity. The budget continues to go up. The demand on your earnings to fund that budget continues to go up. You've got challenges within the Democratic Party to Governor Cuomo right now, and you have a Republican Party that historically, although they're supposed to represent the conservative interests and conservative fiscal interests in New York State, has pretty much failed to do that, and they've been lackluster in backing candidates. If you remember back in 2014, a couple legislators, Republican legislators out on Long Island, actually made a deal with Governor Cuomo's people to not back Rob Astorino in exchange for political favors there, where they wouldn't be heavily challenged for their own offices. So I don't believe that the Republican Party is going to make a legitimate challenge. I mean, they'll have a candidate. I believe it'll be this Mark Molinaro gentleman. But they're not going to win. They don't have any opportunity. If anybody can end the reign of Andrew Cuomo in Albany, it is Larry Sharpe. And we want to sell that to people. I don't want to tell Democrats and Republicans how we're morally superior and they're terrible people. We need to find people within those parties and speak to them in a way where they hear our message. There are good people in all of these political parties, and I believe inherently that people want liberty. But for the Libertarian Party, one of our problems is that we've pontificated, we've alienated people. That approach needs to change. We need to listen to people. What's important to people? I know young people in Rochester and all across New York State, they want to stay here. They want to be close to their families. They want to be able to have a good job without a lot of interference from the state that ends up driving business out of the state and sends a lot of our young people elsewhere to look for jobs, leaving their families behind. And that's got to change, and that's part of Larry's message to give us more local control and less top-down management from Albany.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. Well, on that note, we're going to take a quick break, so thank you, Jim, and we'll be back with Outside the Echo Chamber in just a few minutes with Jim Rosenbeck, the Libertarian Party of New York State Chair, and Mark Potwora.
If they want to get in touch with us and text us and
if you want to text us, you certainly can. 585-454-9975. Send your questions to
what was that number again?
585-454-9975. You can text, maybe call in. We'll see. And ask your questions of Jim Rosenbeck and Mark Potwora from the Libertarian Party of New York. So thanks, guys. We'll be back in just a few minutes. All right, welcome back to Outside the Echo Chamber, the Liberty Talk Hour on Rochester Free Radio, WRFZ 106.3 FM. And if you're listening online, rochesterfreeradio.com. So thank you to our online listeners. Now we always have a few each week.
Yes, we do.
So we're
audio.
Yep.
I'm on. I don't hear myself.
Yeah, no, you're on.
There we go.
Don't worry. Yeah. So we're in studio with two folks from the Libertarian Party of New York, Jim Rosenbeck and Mark Potwora. And before we go on, I do want to say, like, if you're from another party, especially like independent parties, we love talking to third party folks, and you want to be on our show, Green Party.
We're open to other views.
Yeah, so we'd love to have you on. That'd be a lot of fun. Come in, talk about your party, what you guys are doing too, and we'll talk. We'll commiserate about the challenges of the two-party system and talk about taking them over.
Yeah, I think that's one thing about libertarians that is very different from the other parties. The other parties they want to shut out opposing viewpoints. We accept opposing viewpoints, and the Libertarian Party does not we do not proclaim to have all the answers to all the questions, but what we do like to do is talk to the experts or the people that are experiencing the issues, and so we're very open in that respect.
Yeah, we don't have all the answers, and the government doesn't either, and they shouldn't pretend to or use force to impose those answers on us.
Exactly.
But we're chatting over the break too a little bit more about chapter development. So if you do want to get involved, in the process. Jim and Mark, what can folks do again?
Well, they can contact the state on our website, and that will get their name to possibly me. I'm the chairman of the chapter development, and then we'll reach out back to them and we'll help them through the process and what it entails to actually create a chapter in your county. For instance, like Jim said, today we're going to Hornell for Steuben County. They 6 months ago there was no Steuben County chapter, and today there will be official chapter. So it's a process, but it's not really that hard of a process.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, Mark, how hard of the process is it? Really something difficult, or something like the regular guy?
Well, it's community organizing, right?
It's an organizing setup. You come up with 7-8 members of the state party that's in your county. You create a set of bylaws. You create an organization. You create officers just like you would in any. We're a professional organization. We're not. This is. It's not a difficult task. Now, some people do it in 3 months, some people take a year, but it's a good process. And if you believe in this growth of our party, which I think is going to get pretty crazy here this year with Larry Sharp, he's a good spokesman.
And what about the support system, Mark?
That's what the chapter development does. So we come in, there'll be three of us on the committee. You'll contact us. We will work with you every step of the way. We have a bylaws template we'll send to you. We'll try to get out to a couple of organizational meetings, and we can feed you ideas. like there's some counties that are small, that are rural, that probably take a different set of skill set than a county that's like metro, something like this area. So we cater to the personnel and help them the best we can.
It's great. Yeah, now
Awesome.
doing that urban versus rural community organizing, very different skill sets, but but it's important. And if any of you listening have ever tried to build an organization or build a movement, it's not easy. It's not for the faint of heart. I don't want to discourage you from doing it, but there's going to be some challenges. But no. What Mark and Jim are saying is that you're going to have people around you who are going to support that process. You're not out there alone.
And I'll tell you, the rewards come. You get a chapter. You meet some good lifelong friends. Like I'm sure you two guys, I don't know if you even knew each other before this party thing started.
No.
Jim and I didn't know Jim from nothing 3-4 years ago, and now I would say we're pretty fair, good friends, and we do a lot of things together. So it does build a lot of good camaraderie amongst each other, and you can do it better as a team than you can't. It's hard to fight a battle alone. It's better to do it in this environment.
Oh, yeah. And it's funny you say that, because it's really no secret that me and Kevin don't see eye to eye on many things. But yet, we definitely put those differences aside for the focus and benefit of the party and growing the Monroe County Libertarian Party, and of course that translates into a growing state party.
That is one of the beauties of our party, Sean, is that gentlemen like you and Kevin can disagree, and we're fine with people having differences of opinion. Where we draw the line is that we don't want either one of you using the force of the state to impose your will on the other. Right. And that really is the beautiful part. And I think Kevin said it earlier, we reject the use of force in order to achieve social and political goals. And that's what all of the other parties, in particular the two dominant parties in New York State, do. They use the force of government to extort money to achieve social and political goals. And mostly those goals are getting reelected and pandering to certain demographics, whether it be corporate favors or favors to lobbyists. And that is what Larry Sharp calls our, part of our ideological North Star, that we simply don't believe that it's right, moral, or just to take people's money and use it to achieve your own personal, social, or political goals.
The irony of that statement is that I just read today an article that was claiming that Cynthia Nixon had a rally that was blocked in Buffalo by Cuomo's people.
Yeah.
No kidding.
And of course, Cuomo's people are denying it. Oh, no,
Right.
no.
That's some of the stuff you got to watch out for. But Jim, I really appreciate your framing for that philosophy, because I think if you were to ask the average person on the street what's libertarian, they'd say I have no idea what a libertarian is. But they're starting to know now. Or if they did know, a lot of them like, oh, they're the people who just don't want government. They don't like government. They're just selfish and they're individuals. But what the way
anarchists.
Yeah, the anarchists sometimes, which we do have anarchists in our party.
We do. Yeah, but I tell you, I reject the idea outright that libertarians are selfish people, and I hear that stereotype a lot, Kevin. And I think the misunderstanding is that we often don't want to force people to do what we believe is charitable. We believe in an inherent goodness in people, and that people will be fundamentally charitable and fund or volunteer or do those things in their community that right now Albany is trying to force us to do.
So how do you feel about giving homeless free haircuts?
I'm all
Very
in favor.
specific.
I'm all in favor of giving homeless people free haircuts as long as the hair cutters who are doing it are voluntarily doing it. How's that?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
What about occupational licensing for like hair
Right.
braiding?
Well, that's a whole other set of issues. But yeah, you want to jump into that? That's occupational licensing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
to braid someone's hair.
Right.
Why do we need a
Ridiculous.
license for that?
Ridiculous.
Yep.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah. No, there are libertarians on the state level in other parts of the country who are making big waves for that. Laura Ebke, there's her name, out in
Right.
Nebraska, just got a bill passed to reduce the occupational licensing burden out in that state, signed by the governor and everything. So she's our highest Libertarian elected official that we have now.
Isn't there a dog walking license here in New York State?
I think it's a city license.
City license?
Not a state license,
okay.
but there are hundreds.
Just to walk a dog.
Hundreds of licenses in New York State to do everyday stuff, like hair braiding's one of the more infamous ones. Dog walking in some cities and municipalities. Everything from opening up a hot dog stand to something you would do, trying to think of another good one.
Well, I know in Batavia we have plumbers, right? They have a rule.
Yeah.
No plumbing's done unless a licensed plumber does. So if you want to change out a faucet, technically you probably got to get a plumber, but nobody does. But
that's a good one.
It's such an absurd rule that people, whatever.
Yeah.
And a lot of these laws are made as a result of lobbying efforts by unions or by organizations as a job protection. Mark mentioned the plumbing law in the city of Batavia. Now we have that law for plumbers, so you can't have someone come in and change a drain pipe without being licensed by the city to do that. But on the other hand, electricians. Anybody can come in and do electrical work. So there are a lot of inconsistencies. Awesome. The electricians just didn't have a good enough lobby with the city.
Yeah, right. Yeah. They got to lock it down and protect themselves.
Right. So you're allowed to burn your house down from electrical. Shorts,
I think
you can't flood your own house.
Oh, right. You shouldn't need a license for most electrical work. Although, there are times when you certainly should get a professional electrician to do it.
Yes.
And this is coming from the grandson of an electrician, plumber, HVAC professional.
But they have when you get a permit, the city will come in and check your work. So it's like a double thing. If he's going to check my plumbing, I really don't have to need the plumber. If I did the same quality job, because the city's always inspecting your work.
You just hit the nail on the head, and you just hit the nail on the head as far as every bit of auto mechanics work that I've ever done in my life. I do all my own work, and every year I've got to have its vehicle inspected, so some professional checks it out.
Over your work, right? So we double. We have so many layers of trying to get us to do the same thing. It's some things that this party really. This is why we're libertarians, right? This is the things we change. Everyday life should be simpler for everybody, not more complex.
So you're saying we don't need a redundant department of redundancy?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's not three levels of government to get a shed put on your piece of property.
Let me share my regulatory story of the day. Experience happened yesterday. I had to get my vehicle inspected. And it's a 2016 vehicle, a Jeep, and my dogs are in my Jeep all the time. I take them running, and when one of my dogs frayed my seatbelt in the back seat, a little bit, and it was still operational. But I took it into the dealership to have it inspected, and they called me and said, "Wow, that seatbelt's frayed, and this is again the back seat." It's frayed, and we believe that's a safety hazard. And under New York State law, we've got to replace that before we'll pass your inspection. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, how much is that going to be? Well, that's going to be $300.
Wow.
$300 for the seatbelt strap. And it's a racket. It really is. So I politely said no, thank you, and took my vehicle down the street to a different New York State inspection station, who looked at it and said, no problem, there's nothing wrong with that. And I paid $21 to the state and got my inspection sticker. But I did save $300.
Yeah, wow.
So,
no, it's the small stuff like that all the time too. It's not that one thing. Some people be like, oh well, maybe it really was a safety hazard, but it's all that stuff that adds up. Right, it's those little permits, those extra fees to the city, those extra taxes, those extra regulations. In isolation, they're not a lot, unless you're in that situation. It's very frustrating. But as a whole, think of how much that costs our society in terms of both money and time. It's incredible, and it creates a huge burden for people just trying to live their everyday lives.
Exactly.
Yeah. But on that note, we'll take another break real quick. thanks again for joining us. You're listening to Outside the Echo Chamber, the Liberty Talk Hour on Rochester Free Radio, with guest from the Libertarian Party of New York, Jim Rosenbeck, the newly elected chair, and Mark Potwora, who is on the state committee. So we'll be back in just a few. All right, welcome back. That was what was that?
That's Rochester's Giant Panda Gorilla Dub Squad. That's what that is.
Yeah,
Rochester's own.
That's good.
Yep.
Yeah. So the song's called Buffalo. It's
Yep.
like yep. So we're back again outside the echo chamber on Rochester Free Radio, WRFZ 106.3 FM, with Kevin Wilson and Sean Phelan, and our guests in studio today, the newly elected Libertarian Party of New York Chair Jim Rosenbeck and re-elected State Committee member Mark Potwora. So again, thanks guys for being in studio, and so for the last segment, we kind of wanted to talk about what is next for the Libertarian Party of New York. What's the Libertarian Party in New York State going to look like in 2020 or 2022, 4 years from now, or even next year?
Great question, Kevin. And a lot of how this party looks in next year or in 2020 is going to be dependent on whether we're willing to do the hard work to make it to the next level. And that hard work begins with getting involved in this petitioning campaign, volunteering your time, your effort, sharing the message of Larry Sharpe, and making sure that we do everything in our possibility to make him the next governor of New York State. We have an opportunity to flip the script in this state, and I can't emphasize that enough. So we've got to motivate people to get out, and we have tons of people that are really get the message and understand it. We've got to get those people off the couch, out in the streets, engaging their neighbors, and we've got to do that in a way where we can be heard. And in order to be heard by our neighbors, we have to be willing to listen first. So one of the things that I try to pride myself on is treating people with dignity and having respect for people from all different parties, reaching out in a way that builds relationships and consensus rather than causing antagonism.
What do you say to those people that say, "Oh, it's third party; they'll never win"?
Well, I think that you've got to get by that, and I guess you ask, are you happy with where you're at right now? If you're, are you happy with the administration that you have in Albany right now? Are you happy with the lackluster sort of go through the motions efforts of Republicans to run another candidate? Are you happy with the fact that in most cases the two parties end up agreeing with one another, and Republicans vote for the same budgets that the Democrats approve of? So you've got a one-party system in New York, and if you really want to consider the possibility of breaking out of that one-party system, then you better embrace the idea of another party. And I think the Libertarian Party is poised to be that party that creates change. But we have to change our shock and awe sort of message. It doesn't win hearts and minds. We've got to go out and meet people and talk to them and explain to them why our message makes sense.
Yeah, you've everything you said makes perfect sense. It's I tend to use the when I'm dealing with a Democrat or Republican supporter, I tend to ask them, do you feel that you're being represented? And they usually go, no. And I'm like, well, then why are you going to continue voting for them?
Exactly.
And that's why those parties are continuing to lose membership, and why so few people show up to vote, especially in like gubernatorial elections.
Excellent point.
And speaking of growing membership, which is what the Libertarian Party is doing, and the other two parties are losing memberships right now. Right there during the convention, I got a text, and it was actually a photo text, and it was a friend of mine that I grew up with back in Long Island, who was a staunch Republican most of his life. He started looking at being an independent because of his distrust with the current state of affairs, and I put him in front of I turned him on to Larry Sharpe, put him in front of a video or two of Larry Sharpe, and he sends me a photo of his voter registration change that he
Nice.
did online, and he's now a registered libertarian. And it's just, you just talk, talk to them with some common sense and say, look, if you are not happy with choice A or choice B, it's not a choice of a red pill or a blue pill. There's no pill at all. And a lot of people don't want to even take that into account as that being an option.
Well, I do see these, just what you said, a lot of people just don't vote because of that. They go, well, what's the difference? Red, blue, it's not going to make a difference. So I would think that our role as libertarians would be to convince people that there is going to be a difference and things will change, and we can do it because it is a party of the people. It's not a party of the party, right? So the more time we live our life as libertarians and we set examples and we work on those people that are just gave up on voting, we push those people and show the good things that can come by creating this movement.
Yeah, those people that are not the people that are not voting, the people that are fed up with voting, those are the people that I really want to reach out to the most,
right.
Because they're the ones that feel that the government is no longer representing them in any way, shape, or form, that they're not even going to go out and vote. I'm telling you, if you register to vote and you registered as a libertarian, which would be even more fantastic, but not voting for the red or the blue teams anymore. Vote somewhere else, and your vote will count for so much more than just being another just spit into the ocean of red and blue votes.
If I could add one thing, and it's not up to our chairman here to do all this work. It's up to all of us. So all of us have to be representative of the Libertarian Party, and all of us have to talk to our friends and neighbors who are feeling down about government and try to tell them there is a positive message out there, and we all can go out there and get somebody to sign up to vote. Just get them to sign up to vote for one, or get them to sign up as a libertarian.
Yeah.
We can all take a couple, 3 forms around with us, keep them on us at all times, and sign up new people. Let's be recruiters,
Sure, and guys, just because some people might not know how it works, if you did want to enroll as a libertarian, like as a registered voter, how would you do that? Because it's a little bit different than how you register with normal parties.
Well, if you have one of those registration forms, Kevin, which you can you can get at your local board of elections, or if you contact us, we'll be happy to get one to you. The Libertarian Party right now is not listed on the enrollment form as a party. So in order to register, change your registration, which you can do Monday morning, go to the Board of Elections or download one from their website, and you check the box other and then write in Libertarian and spell it out clearly, because oftentimes boards of election in different counties, based on their different recording methods, might enroll you as a liberal, or might not correctly enroll you and just put you in as an other or unaffiliated sort of category. So it's very important to check that other box and then write in the word libertarian. Don't abbreviate it, write in libertarian. And the more people we have registered in the Libertarian Party, the more of a political force that we can be in this state to represent the needs of the people. This country was founded with the idea that the government's primary role is to defend the rights of the individual. And that's the inherent message of the Libertarian Party, that we're here to defend the rights of the individual, and the individual is the smallest minority in the country, in the state, in your community. So we need your assistance. We need people to enroll Libertarian, or like Sean said, at least consider enrolling to vote. If you've been disenfranchised, disillusioned, you've lost your faith in politics altogether, I understand that. I completely understand why people think, oh, it's never going to change. But don't give up. Don't give up. Register to vote. Get out and vote for the candidate of your choice. I hope it's Larry Sharp. I believe he's the best one. But participate in the process, because otherwise you concede to the one-party system.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And we know that from our experiences as libertarians, that the last chair was very much focused on finding the voter records and correcting any of the voter fraud that was out there, any of the Board of Elections in different counties that were
Sean's referring to a few boards of elections weren't properly recording people who were enrolled in parties like the Libertarian Party.
Right.
So Mark Glogowski was exploring that, getting records, and challenging the counties to do it correctly and making them better at that process.
And he's going to continue doing so.
Yeah, Mark has done an excellent job with that. And the Monday after our convention, this past Monday, I met with Mark, had lunch with him, and asked if he'd be willing to continue to serve in a cabinet level position, which would keep him doing that good work. Mm-hmm. And he was excited to do that. So I will be making a motion at our state committee meeting next Sunday to create a committee that Mark would chair, which would be focused on retention of enrollments and being a liaison with boards of election. So I look forward to him continuing the great work he's done in that area.
I was making that motion at the state committee. Yeah. It just never got heard.
Yeah.
Boy, great minds think alike. Yeah. I love it.
Nice.
So, Jim, we still got some time left. What's your plan? Where do you want to go with the Libertarian Party?
Well, as we've all talked about through this past hour, the key is party status, and that's going to happen. And it's going to happen because people like you two are broadcasting the message of the Libertarian Party and our gubernatorial candidate Larry Sharp. But it's also going to happen because we're going to motivate people to get out, and we're going to do our best to have Larry be the next governor of the state, and we are going to become a duly constituted party. When that happens, the excitement begins because now we will have committees in every county. People will come when they see that we're for real. People will come to join this party. We will have a committee in every party, in every county. Those counties will be empowered to run local candidates without the oppressive petitioning requirements that exist for independent bodies. So this is going to flip the switch. And we are going, and we need to be prepared for that when it comes. And that's certainly one of the things that we're working on right now to be ready to make that transition from independent body to a duly constituted party in New York State.
And remind folks, how do you get to be a duly constituted party in New York State?
The way we do that is by getting 50,000 votes in the gubernatorial election. That means a minimum of 50,000 people come out and vote for Larry Sharp. Now, I believe, and Larry has said this himself, we believe that goal is in the rearview mirror. This is not about just the party getting ballot access or becoming a legitimate party. This is about Larry Sharp winning this gubernatorial campaign. And you got to be willing to dare to believe. Dare to believe that this is possible.
Well, I think it's also mathematically possible.
Yes,
in the simple fact, and as a former math teacher, I'm telling you, all right, because remember, we got people that are just absolutely fed up with Cuomo, and they do not want him anymore. You got Cynthia Nixon, who's running as a Democrat also, and she's already said that if she does not get the Democratic nomination, that she is going to continue to campaign as an independent, which means she's now split the Democratic vote now. And let's face it, this Molinaro guy, just from the Republicans, he doesn't have what it takes. No. And I'm telling you, if you listen to Larry Sharp, you're going to hear a completely different type of person and giving you answers, and the message is solid, in my opinion.
I got to say, the one thing I've noticed about Larry, you can bring Larry into a room of non-believers. He'll take care of the rest. It's not up to you. You don't even have to convince your whoever you want to vote for Larry. Larry does it all by himself. Mm-hmm. He does a great job. He converts people. There's a couple people converted that I know personally. I didn't know they knew of Larry Sharp, and they just brought his name up to me one day. I was shocked. I go, "How'd you know about him?"
Yeah. So word's getting out.
Larry will take care of this one.
When Larry came on our show, he said to us that he's not magical, and I debated upon that. I think he's a little magical.
All right. Well, Guys, it's been a pleasure having you on, folks. It's Jim Rosenbeck.
Thank you very much.
And Mark Potwora from the Libertarian Party of New York.
Anytime.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll have to have you on again sometime in the future, maybe after you get ballot access and become a duly constituted party.
Hey, it's been a pleasure, gentlemen. We appreciate it.
So thanks again, folks. This has been Outside the Echo Chamber, the Liberty Talk Hour on Rochester Free Radio. You can catch us again next Saturday at 9 a.m. We will be here live this time.
Yes.
Yeah, so we will
live
see you.
and in